Hi, and I've got Nick West here today, Director of Nelson Alexander, Chairperson of the Rise Initiative, a very good friend of mine at the same time, and possibly the nicest guy in the Victorian real estate market here on our People Behind Property podcast. So, Nick, thanks very much for coming.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
So, look, Nick, you've been in real estate, I think I looked up about since 1989.
Yep.
Can you give us a little bit of how you got into real estate? Because especially in the Melbourne market, because as you said, I know that you're a country boy, a boy from Cobram.
Yeah.
And how did you end up in Melbourne and in real estate?
Yeah, it was interesting. I had an early exposure to real estate because Simon Conquest, who owned Hodges at the time, was one of my dad's best mates. And so I had an early interest around property. And then I came down to boarding school in Melbourne. And then one of my great mates, who I became great mates with and now business partner with, James Keenan, rang me. I was looking to get into physiotherapy actually at the time, but I had an interest in real estate. And he rang me and said, there's a job going in Melbourne at Thompson Real Estate. I've been there 6 months and I think, you should come and have a go. So the rest is history. So that was nearly 38 years ago. And we've been mates, business partners, peer partners. We meet every week for the last 26 years on a Thursday morning, 8 o'clock, for a peer partnership around how you're going, checking in with one another. So it's been a wonderful relationship, but that's how I got into real estate.
It's interesting you say, I think I just introduced the fact you're from Cobram and you've got your business partner, James Keenan, often known as Crackers in the industry.
Yarrawonga boy.
Yarrawonga boy. So there's a lot of country in that. How does that relate in your business today? Do you think that has brought something that's unique? Do you think that's an asset? Was it hard at the start because you was that? But, can you sort of let us know how you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it is an asset. I mean, I think I went to boarding school and left Cobram when I was 14. But I think what it taught me, I think the country environment taught me great values. It taught me how to communicate respectfully and to understand people's needs. I think I had a good framework around that. The way I was brought up and my family, none of it was a given. So whenever I went home on holidays, I had to work. And so that really instilled in me, I think, some good values around working hard, respecting the value of money and respecting that money wasn't everything, but, relationships are important, paying respect, shaking someone's hand, looking them in the eye, and doing the right thing. So, and that was certainly supported by my school environment and by the people I hung around. There was always a healthy level of competition because around a country town, as you'd know, there's a lot of focus around community and a lot around sport. So I played a lot of sport. So I was exposed to that early. So I sort of learnt, maybe I wasn't aware of it, but I think later in life I reflect back and that gave me some really good parameters to be part of a team and really value that team performance and bringing people on that performance journey with me, if you like. I sort of did it naturally, but later on in life, on reflection, and when you ask that question, that was instilled in me fairly early through that country upbringing.
It's amazing. You've used that word team a lot, and our industry relies on team. And we were just having a brief chat before how important it is to be part of a team.
Yeah.
And growing up in a small country town myself in the Northeast, you talk about that community and you had nowhere to hide. If you said you were going to do something, you had to do it because everyone would let you know you didn't do it.
Yeah.
Which was fantastic, especially when it comes to the football team and obviously the netball team or the basketball team. Everyone knew everyone. And it was a great learning, I felt as well, that when I got to Melbourne, I thought, I'll know no one. I found out, to be quite honest. I didn't know I had it. I actually found out the value of growing up in a small community and being part of a big family. So a village as such would bring such a great asset to real estate. And it's interesting you say the same. And then, but you did touch on the fact you went, come down to boarding school at 14. And again, that's a different journey because I was lucky enough. My greatest gift my father ever gave me was the ability to go to Assumption College, where obviously James Keenan went at the same time. So it's the world sort of connects in certain ways. How do you find that family of that boarding school family? Are you still friends? Do you still connect? And the value of that?
So there's two things to that. One is I got out of my comfort zone early. And I think that's invaluable with any learning journey. And maybe I didn't know it at the time, but on reflection, that's the other thing it gave me. I was out of my comfort zone. I had to go into an environment where I really didn't know many people. And being exposed to that at 14, at a young age, when your brain's developing, you're becoming aware of a lot of things. I definitely think that I have a great acceptance and a great propulsion towards getting out of my comfort zone because of that. And so my learning journey and my people journey was accelerated because of that. I was not afforded to stay at home and have a lot of those comforts. I had to move out of home, and I now look back on that, and I was very fortunate around that. And so that really got me out of my comfort zone, forced me into situations that were uncomfortable, that became very comfortable. Public speaking, leadership attributes that I saw as opportunities ultimately as I progressed through school, and the school environment, helped create that. That was certainly accelerated on me, and it helped me later on in life, having that great grounding in the country environment, then coming to Melbourne and being exposed to an environment that I wasn't used to, and it was uncomfortable. But in hindsight, looking at it now, and I don't think I appreciated it at the time, but you always do with the benefit of hindsight. That certainly has been very good for me, and secondly to that, the boarding community. I was a boarder. We have a WhatsApp group. We catch up regularly. Is unbelievable. I mean, the network, the boarding network, through the highs and the lows, we connect. We share our journeys, and so that's still very real today and alive to our connectivity.
Yeah, you talk the value of hindsight. I often sit and talk about people I went to boarding. My dad sent me to boarding school. Oh, really? No. How did you know? I couldn't do that. I said it was. I still stand
Missing
by
it.
it today. It's the greatest gift my father ever gave me.
Yeah,
And you talk about catching up. Tomorrow I'm actually catching up with all the guys from Assumption. It's someone's birthday.
yeah,
A WhatsApp group comes out. We're meeting at this place here tomorrow about 2 o'clock. Can you make it? And all you see back is thumbs up. Yep, I'll be there. No
yeah,
problem.
yeah,
It's like, it's never judged if you can't make it, but it's also appreciated if you can make
yeah,
it. But it's only a quick message. And it's amazing that boarding community that sort of sneaks through and sort of gets into your blood and gets into that DNA of yourself. But truly, it's also, when it comes to real estate, I would find it's been the greatest asset for me,
yeah.
because not every kid at school has a great day.
No,
Not everyone's winning. I found that you learn to actually really adapt. As you said, you grow a lot quicker, you move a lot faster, you become a lot more out of your comfort zone. But I think the empathy of others is actually
yeah.
really instilled within you in that boarding community.
Definitely. And there's no doubt, so much so, and I'm happy to share, I live within a kilometre of the school that I boarded at, Xavier College, and sent my son there to board the last 2 years of his schooling,
Yeah.
11 and 12. The school was open to that. But there was a position available, so he wasn't taking any country kid or anyone else's position. And his growth and learning has accelerated dramatically by being in that environment for the last 2 years of schooling. So I valued it so much. It's not for everyone, and we were fortunate to be able to do that, and it's been amazing for him.
Yeah, that's great. And as you said, it's a gift. And for those that are looking at this, sometimes they don't realize the value of that connection piece that these schools and being part of schools really do
Yeah,
add
yeah,
to their future careers, and especially in real estate and in Melbourne. So it's really good. So,
it is. There's no doubt about it.
so let's get into real estate now. You're northern suburbs, day one. Where are you now?
So I'm still in the northern suburbs. I'm sitting in Fitzroy, the head
Yep.
office. So we've got offices, from Kew out north out to Reservoir, Pascoe and out to Essendon, Escobar. So like we have 16 offices, all predominantly, all north
Yep.
of the Yarra essentially, because they're Kew. And then we've got a Hawthorn office. So, and been in that whole area for that whole time.
Yep.
In fact, there's four of us. There's James, Keenan, Tom Roberts, Peter Stevens, and I, who all started together nearly 38 years ago, all still working together. So that's quite unique.
And it's interesting you say that, because we often get in this industry people moving around saying here, thinking that, the grass is greener on the other side. And I often say, what if you watered that grass? Would it
Yeah.
be greener?
Yep.
And you've done that obviously in your industry, and you talk about 38 years, but 38 years with a relationship with your peers around you, and you become who you most hang out with. And you've got probably some of the best people in this industry for a long period of time. What's your philosophy on leadership, team building at Nelson Alexander?
So when people turn up to Nelson Alexander, we looked at it as a great opportunity to talk to them about how we'd like to grow them as individuals. And so that's our first way of demonstrating to them when they first turn up. So we have an induction where they are told, part of your growth journey might be different to different people, and success might look differently for every person who joins Nelson Alexander. We want to provide you with something you're attached to, you feel part of, you can contribute to, and you feel that you're on a great journey. We never mention money.
Yeah.
That's never around that. It is around whatever your success journey looks like. We would love to feel that we can accelerate that and you feel part of it. And then we do a 30-day catch up, another 60-day catch up, and 90-day catch up so that we feel that their entry into Nelson Alexander is a good one. Leadership is then about being aware of all your people, and that becomes harder as you grow. So therefore, you've got to teach the other leaders in your business, and we have various programs to make sure that they, in an industry that's very fast paced, can often be very focused on financial outcomes. I think we're very good as an industry around communication, and I see that that's an exchange of information. It's the connection piece that we try and how are you? What's important to you? How can I help you? Is something that we're very focused on because then you understand the person and they feel you're invested in them. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges in our industry. And when we don't get it perfectly. So then we think, how can we provide that in all our offices? So we have what we call team huddles where they get together once a month. They share what they're doing in the community. None of it's around performance. It's around what are you doing in the community? Who's had birthdays? Who's bought a house? Who's had a baby? What are some of the things we're doing as an office? And we get various people to report in from front of house, back of house, sales, PM. We rotate that so everyone can contribute to it. There are little things like that that we try and become aware of. That's for us, that's leadership, is giving people a vision and an opportunity, and they feel optimistic around where we're going.
It's one of those things I actually sit here with hand on heart and say, I know that because it's conversations over the period of time. We've had a great connection piece and not once have we ever spoke about KPIs. Not once have we spoken about GCI, how many sales and yet I can often walk out the door and meet a group of people and they say, oh, how many sales you had this month? What are you up by percentages?
Yep.
Yet Nick, you and I have never, you actually walked into O'Brien HQ today and gave me a book, Ben Crow's new book. So, to sit here and hear that, I actually think it's fantastic that there's people in our industry that actually talk that way, think that way. And it really is, I reckon, from my viewing, is that Nelson Alexander is a purpose-driven business more than a financially driven. I think your purpose obviously will lead profit, but then that goes back into investing into people. We talk about personal development. We've got a great coach that we share together in Josh Fegan that sort of takes us on that journey. But even him as a coach, make sure that we've got a great purpose and we're actually, our roadmap's driven by a really good set of values. To sit here and hear you say that about your people onboarding, it's about the future, not about now. To invest in your people, I can actually sit here with hand on heart again and say, I see that in you and I see that in the way that you talk about it. And you actually see that in Nelson Alexander people. And it's good to be part of it and it's good to be part of the friendship.
And I think, as a leader, there's no greater joy than you don't do it to get anything out of it, but you do. The fact that you communicate with people, provide them with a great journey, they give you some feedback about the journey that they're experiencing, then that's the great joy of leadership, is you're giving them some guardrails around values and around, where you want to get to and the things around behaviour. So we have, thing around, what are your beliefs? What are our beliefs? What are our expectations on behaviour?
Yep.
We're strong on that. And then that really supports our culture because I think sometimes you can overcomplicate it. If the messaging's clear, we have strong beliefs, we have strong views around behaviour, and we lead those behaviours, and that's a leadership role. And then that supports great culture, and that's really important for us.
It's interesting you say that because we're in a changing market at the moment. We obviously, before we stepped in here, we were talking about that and things are changing. And a lot of our agents are they moving quick with the change? Are they afraid to do change? What's your philosophy around training, culture? Because again, we talk about a purpose-driven organisation, not a performance-managed organisation. So it must be a real strong way that you guys do that.
I'm not saying we get it perfect, but I think a couple of things. The first thing is how you view your role. And so when people talk about our company, I used to say we manage 22,000 properties, we do 4,000 sales and all that sort of stuff. We employ, 400 people. I now say we provide a home for over 55,000 people. I feel very attached to that.
Yep.
And the people hearing that go, oh my God, really? And that starts a different conversation. But I then feel a sense of pride. And we talk about that in our company. And that starts with know your role, play your role. So then when change comes about, I think it impacts everyone differently. But if you start from them knowing your role, playing your role, and what we see is important, and we provide a home for more than 55,000 people, there's a sense of attachment to that. So sometimes there's change required to be able to do that really well. So there, that removes the aspect of performance to being able to deliver something that's important in our communities. So I think the way of looking at that is really important when you're talking about change, because everyone views change personally, and they'll say, what does that mean for me? So if they feel that their role is important, are they attached to that, and they feel that some change is often required to perform that role well and more efficiently, and that we're providing a service will deliver a better outcome, then I think that change is not seen as a roadblock as it could be if it's all around performance.
It's actually really nice to hear that. And obviously, then you view success differently to a lot of other people.
Yeah.
Your measurement of success compared to a lot of this industry, completely different. Share with us one day that you really went home and felt, geez, that was a really great, successful day. You know, what was it? What comes first to mind?
Yeah, we've just at our launch, early in the year, we talked about a number of things, and I gave away this to everyone in sales and to the company, a chart that talked about what does success look like today and what does success look like in 2026. And it just lists three things that success looks like. It can be personal, professional.
Yeah.
And then on that journey, what are three things you're going to commit to doing to make that happen? Because I think if you give people everything, they never learn.
Yep.
You've got to talk to them about, and what are you going to do? And so to your point, what I got a lot out of is people started ringing me saying, can I catch up with you? I want to share this success journey with you. And I want to refine it. And I said, okay, send me a photo of it first so I can look at it. Let's come in. So what was really, really pleasing for me was a lot of people took that on board and wanted success. And it wasn't, a lot of the success was not around financial metrics. Some of it was to a degree, but relationships, achieving other things. And then I just helped them with, what are you going to commit to doing to make sure that happens? So for me, it was a really good, honest conversation on a very personal level that wasn't about GCI, or what am I listing and selling, or what am I leasing, or it was a real people to people conversation. So I go home, and after that, having people come to me and talk to me about stuff that I want to be a better partner at home, or something like that. I go, wow, okay, this is just someone I wouldn't have thought they would have said this to me. They shared it with me. Well, what are you going to commit to doing to make that happen? Well, what should I, well, organise a date night every fortnight. That might be something that you can do that you've not done before. So it was no great revelation, but that's the connection piece, I think, that I talk about. When people started coming to me, I remember coming home and go, oh, that was really profound, and sharing it with crackers. It's, it says we're getting something right, that people feel they can come to us with their growth journey and we can contribute to that. And I think give a little bit of, not pushback, but what are you going to do to make that happen? Because success is available for everyone. The opportunity is available, but I think you've got to lean into a couple of things and commit to a couple of things to make that success happen, or you're not growing them.
So making them have ownership is a big deal of that space, but also making it simple.
Yep.
Because as you said, our industry is full of great professional development people. We've got noise everywhere. We've got social media everywhere. We've got all that. And then we've got the stories, right? And whether they're true or not, they are stories and people want to believe them.
Mm-hmm.
But just making it simple, taking ownership of it, and then obviously execution. But I reckon it'd be fantastic when they're coming back to share that with you. What a legacy that would must have felt like.
Yeah, no, it is. And some people you walk in off, they've got a pin on their wall, so they're looking at it. And I think sometimes people don't like writing things down because they're worried about, will I achieve them? And so it's good. And that's all learning, and that's all leadership and that growth journey. So I love that. And so I get a big kick out of where I can see that someone feels that they can come and we're accessible, and they're willing to come and share something and look for our input. And that's you feel very proud when you feel you're part of that journey.
So let's talk about that internal space with the Nelson Alexander crew. But you've now taken on chairman of the Rise, of which we're very proud to be part of the Rise initiative. I think it's been a great initiative. It's sort of been there. Chris Hanley and the team that you've been part of, and you spoke very highly of that. I know for a fact when I got a phone call from Nick West, I need you here this night, this time thing. Don't let me down. I've gone, my God, I've got no choice here, have I? So I turned up, and I honestly, when I talked to you, I said I probably had disconnected with the Rise initiative. Probably wrong, probably should have connected, should have found a little bit more. But at the moment, you've taken over the chairman of that. If you're not busy enough, this can certainly make you busier. You've done the circuit around that. You've got some really great people on board. Can you sort of tell us what is the vision of Rise? What is the steps? We're ready to roll it out. We're going to roll this out. We want to make it a big part of the O'Brien network. But what is your vision for Rise?
So our vision ultimately is to raise the awareness, have a discussion around the challenges that people often face in a high pressure environment. And so we want to raise the awareness of Rise Initiative and then raise the awareness of some of the tools that we offer that are available and any support that we can give to an organisation, particularly leaders, that they can then drive down into their businesses. Because I think it's a leadership conversation because we'd love to help every single agent in Australia. And one of our pushes is to actually make it more national. So we've heard the feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So we've now got people on the board who are more nationally focused. And so, so there's, some new energy right across the nation. We rolled out some what we call executive dinners sponsored by Macquarie, which is fabulous, where we talk to leaders of each state to get an idea as to, what, to your point, what was their awareness of Rise, what was their awareness of the tools available to you. And so we knew what do we need to do to have greater impact. And so it really starts with talking to the leaders and saying, we feel there's a conversation we can have, an awareness aspect, and here are the tools that we can provide. And then accelerating that through the REIs, so there's some awards now at the REIV. There's a wellness award last year with the first one. Most of the states now, and hopefully all of them, are going to have a wellness award. So it's an acknowledgement not around performance, but around wellness. Each industry is then making sure that they recognise that as being important. Now, there's a legal obligation now, obviously, for companies to put some cadence around it. We want to help. We've already got the structure. We've got the 24/7 tool, the Real Care that's available to you. So we want to expand that support and expand that discussion. And we've got a Rise Leadership Conference coming up in September. Through the Real Care support on your phone, we've got some very metrics we're looking at so we can see the data, which supports the story, which is our industry is feeling the pressure, our people are feeling the pressure. And I think we're in a digital age now where some of that pressure now is not evident in the work environment. It often comes to the fore outside of work. Because whilst we'd love to think that people disconnect, they don't. And so they feel that there's a requirement to be on their phone. The pressure rises often comes to the fore outside of the work environment. It's an educational thing. And so we want to make sure we have impact right across Australia. So there's a good discussion around mental health. And we talk about energy now, your people, your team's energy levels, where they need to be. They'll often won't be. So what tools do you have to help support that so that your people feel you care about them? And then they've got something they can look at and they can use that gives them the ability to decompress, self-care, rapid relief. And then there's the 24/7 care if needed. And I think we've moved out of that old catch and kill, just go for it and don't worry about, and I came from the environment, you just get on with it. Well, that doesn't cut it anymore. From a business perspective, leadership perspective, that doesn't cut it anymore. And people are attached to a company who genuinely feel, not only do they say we care about you, we're going to provide you with these cadence of these tools so that if you ever need a bit more care, it's there. And we're going to bring it up regularly, not in a way that's overpowering, but if you feel your energy levels aren't at where they need to be, here's some of the care that's available to you. And very importantly, if you don't feel it for you, you'll often, the fact that you've got some knowledge and awareness of it, you can often help a colleague who you might just see some signs that they need just a little bit of direction, and that's important.
That was my mistake, right? So putting it out there, because I've always been proud of O'Brien Real Estate and our EAP program, which a lot of people have had in their organisation over the last few years. We highly promoted it, and I thought to myself, why I probably disconnected with Rise is because I truly didn't understand it. And I'm glad that you supported that by saying there's tools before the EAP program.
Yep.
And that was my mistake. That was probably my naivety from that side of it, until we obviously went out for dinner at Macquarie. I had team leaders in there, heard from Chris. The story is this, how it started, but more importantly, clearly understanding what it was. And I think a lot of organisations, and I put my hand up as one, that sat there and said, no, we don't need this. We've got our own EAP program. Until I found out that's what you call SOS.
Yeah.
And then I'm sitting there and we're talking about this. Why should I come on board? You wanted to find out, and you gave us your time. And I've gone, wow, I'm just going to SOS and I'm good at SOS. I'm not really good at stopping someone to get to
Yeah.
SOS. And that's what the Real Care app does. I've used it with team people. I've had people that have had personal relationships at home
Yep.
that are struggling in this current environment, obviously cost of living, etc., like that. Can't do that. I said, well, why don't you download this? See, there's an exercise, whether it be a breathing exercise, it was me listen to a good piece of music. And whereas my traditional one is, oh, if you need someone to talk to, we've got this great EAP program. Whereas you guys, when explained to me, and I don't think people truly understand, it's the power before getting to
Yeah,
that.
it is. And I liken it, Dean, to the analogy, and this is a true story. And this is how I relate this to the support. I was driving up the country only a couple of months ago. I was on a country road on my own, and there was no traffic around. And I was distracted by something. And I leant down, it wasn't on my phone. The car started beeping because I started veering off the side of the road. So that was the first sign. And I didn't pay any attention to it. The second sign is my steering wheel started vibrating.
Mm.
And so that was the second sign, which I sort of was still trying to, and I didn't pay any attention to it. The third sign was the SOS. The car went into shutdown. It actually went into limp
Yep.
mode because it thought I was falling asleep. So I look at that and go, you know what? There are signs. The self-care was probably the first sign where the car started beeping, the rapid relief, and so I think, that is sort of, and I sat there and I thought, you know what? I've got to a position here. I knew that I was getting the signs were there, but the car shut down on me and stopped
Yep.
because it said, you're falling asleep. And I wasn't, I was distracted. Now, the other bit to that is if I had someone in the car next to me, a teammate or colleague, they would have stopped me very early in the piece, and I would
Mhm.
never have got to the shaking steering wheel and the car shutting down. So I think what that does, it raises the importance of sometimes we know, but we don't listen, and the importance of having a good teammate who sees it and they say, "Hey, there's something here I think you can access that just might help."
Yep.
And I think so. If I had someone sitting in the passenger in the car, I would never have got to that. So I liken that to the support that the Real Care app can provide. But equally, even if you don't think it's for you, being a great colleague and having awareness of it could stop a situation that was starting to occur because you identified it.
It's funny you use that analogy because great one to have. But the actual same way I felt was imagine if there's a colleague that doesn't want to come to a team leader because feels a little bit intimidated or feels don't want to let them know
Yep.
because don't want the pressure of how they're going to feel about their performance, needs the job. But I felt the exact same way they could go to a colleague and their colleague, instead of being the professional person, say, hey, what about this? Why don't you get on this Real Care app? Why don't you look about how you're feeling and how to deal with it? So it become a tool.
Yeah.
It's an amazing tool on that because that's when I went away from when we caught up for the coffee, I've gone, this isn't something that I have to drive. This can be something I've got to lead, but can driven to the colleagues. And I know a lot of colleagues take a lot of pressure on because they might, you're as much as you're open and you're giving and you're a purpose-driven organization, people still feel that they can't go to talk about this, but they'll talk to their
They
colleagues
will. They will.
and their colleagues aren't professionals, right? But this tool is giving their colleagues say, look, let's work through this and as a team. I love what you said there. It shouldn't, I believe as an organization, shouldn't just say, I've got it, tick it off, I've done the right job. Too many organizations just say, oh, we've got values on walls, you've got to live by that, but then they're just words on walls.
Yeah.
They're not actually values. We've got a purpose. This is our purpose at O'Brien Real Estate. But again, it's just a sticker on the wall. It's not actually driven, it's not lived, etc. So when you talk about this RISE initiative, I think it's an amazing initiative. Secondly, I think this Real Care app, looking further deeper into it, is amazing. But it should be reminded, not actually focus. And I think too many organisations say, well, we're part of RISE. There's a poster on the wall. Look, if you ever got trouble, go there. It sits there, might sit behind a toilet door. I could sit in the kitchen. I could sit there. But I'd still do that, to be quite honest, because how many people would actually go to, I know this sounds crazy, to a toilet, sit there and feel that's their space, apart from the colleagues, and they could just look up and see that, you know?
Yep.
But I think it's the friendly reminders, not the pushing down the throat, is the key to this.
It is. And so you've got to, and so one of the things that we encourage people to do is to have RISE champions. And so that they then notionally think whenever there's a catch up, we should just remind people that it's there,
Yeah.
in a way that's relatable. And I think when you talk about relatability, you look at the rapid relief, let's say, and the rapid relief is, and you talk to a property manager, a really challenging conversation with a renter, then has to go into a listing situation. How do they, deep breathing will often just reset you. So it's not extreme, to your point, extreme circumstances, because it's a lot of little things that can happen that lead to that. And if you can just have something that allows you to manage a stressful situation on an ongoing basis, deep breathing's one, will lower your heart rate. And so there are things like that. And you go, that's my tool. And there are little things that I learned through reading Gilbert and Oaker's book.
Yep.
Little things like having a lacquer band on your wrist, flicking it, goes, right, I acknowledge that I'm in this space, but now I'm out of it. So there are a lot of little things, and we're hopefully that the Real Care is one of those things that just gives you some tools and go, if I'm just even in a bit of a tight spot, I've got something I know I can access. And look, one of the challenges we've got is I try not to refer it as an app, because what
Yep.
happens is I then say app, and I don't mention the words Real Care, which are the most critical part of it. The other thing I find is when I talk about it and I mention the word app, I tend to find they put it into a category of just another app.
Yep.
And so I've learnt now through talking to people, particularly people who are prevalent around their phones, and when I talk about Real Care on your phone, it's available a tool 24/7. I actually don't mention the word app. It's like our business. We manage 22,000. We provide a home for 55. It's internally referenced, and it's referenced differently. I feel attached to that. So I mentioned Real Care because I was guilty of saying app, and the app does this and the app does that. And I kept dropping the words Real Care. And that were the two words that were fundamental to what support it gave.
It's amazing how important that language is.
Yeah.
When I was at a dinner, and I suppose it's a testament to yourself, you've connected, not only have you connected Victoria, you've connected Australia again. And I think it's fair to say big shout out to Chris Hanley at the same time.
Chris is a great man.
Super
The guru of real estate.
The guru of real estate. But it's a testament to you, Nick, on the fact that you have actually connected all of Australia and chairman of that super initiative. So well done, and thank you for being part of that.
No, thank you. And thanks for partnering with us. We need more people to lean into it and show leadership around, and I think we'll have greater impact. And that's what keeps me motivated. So I love it.
All right. So I've been told I've got some quick fire questions for you.
Okay.
So we can leave and then we'll do that because we've had a great time. I'm just looking over there. What's one trait every great agent must have?
They've got to develop trust.
Best piece of advice you've ever received?
Yeah, early days, and I didn't take it on board, was seek feedback. That was one of my early seek feedback, and I did not take it on board. And now I profess it to everyone, seek feedback early.
One thing you would do differently if you started again?
Is I wouldn't think that I knew it all. And I would actually go and seek feedback from those who'd done it before me more earlier than I did.
I think we've touched on this, but I'd love to hear in a quick fire question. What does success look like to you now?
So success for me used to be being sales very singular, and now it's very much broad. My aperture is bringing people on a journey and being aware of others. For me, and they feel that they're part of that and you're contributing to it. For me, that's success.
That's fantastic. And what's one thing people might not know about you outside of work?
I'm one of 7 kids, 6 boys and a girl. Good Catholic country family from Cobram. So
it was interesting. I ran into one of your brothers and I said, "Oh, Nick, I met your brother last night." And you go, "Which one?" I go,
Yeah.
"I've got 6 of them."
So big family.
Big family.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
fantastic. All right, Nick West, thank you so much for the time here
Thanks,
today.
mate.
Thanks for being a partner and a friend of O'Brien Real
Good on
Estate.
you. Thanks also for your partnership and support.
Thank
Good on
you.
you. Thanks, mate.